the best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. Singapore's 15th Parliament started sitting at the Parliament House about an hour ago. This is its first session after the 2025 general election on May 3rd. Today's sitting will see the election of the Speaker of Parliament, the swearing-in of 99 MPs, and an opening address by President Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Now, Mr. Tharman's speech will lay out the government's priorities, policies, and programs for the new term, and this is just the beginning. Later this month, MPs will get down to business with a full debate on the president's address, unpacking the details and weighing in on the direction Singapore is headed. So what exactly should we be looking out for, and how might this new parliament shape policies that affect everyday Singaporeans? Well, joining us today to share more is Dr Gillian Koh, Senior Research Fellow from the Institute of Policy Studies. Hi, Dr. Koh. Welcome back to the show.
Hi there. Good to be speaking to you, Hongbin. Just call me Gillian.
All right. Well, Gillian, thank you so much for joining us. Well, the 15th Parliament, which began an hour ago, it seems like it's already breaking some records here. I mean, with 99 MPs, this is Singapore's largest ever parliament. So, Gillian, how might this expanded House change the dynamics of the debate later in the month?
Well, I think through the election, voters have brought into Parliament a greater diversity of members of Parliament. This is about their backgrounds. We also have very many young MPs, and also we have a higher number of female members of Parliament. We have 10, 12, members of Parliament from the Workers' Party, the leading opposition party, and we do not have a third party in Parliament, which is different from the 14th Parliament. So I think a key thing is diversity, new faces, hopefully fresh perspectives, but most importantly, effective representation of the broad swathe of Singaporeans who will be looking at how government and Parliament will be able to serve them in this time of great global uncertainty and also, pressing domestic issues that need to be dealt with as a result of that external environment.
And I mean, speaking of representation here, the Workers' Party has its biggest presence yet with 12 MPs. What impact do you expect it to have on, the balance of discussion between the PAP and the opposition?
Well, I think that it is a notch more than the last time around at 10. But it does mean that we'd expect that the 12 members from the opposition will probably want to try and, specialize in certain areas of public policy. Because with that number, you can now actually have a little more focus from each of them. However, in addition to that, the leader of the opposition who delivered a speech just now said that he would be hoping that the Speaker of Parliament will allow for greater use of this mechanism called select committees, which is sort of focused on certain particular policy questions. And, these committees would comprise of the diversity of views with PAP and far more, of course, opposition members of Parliament. So with a greater number, I think you'll be able to have greater representation from the opposition, even in mechanisms like select committees.
And as you mentioned earlier, Gillian, a record 31 female MPs will sworn in today. What does this say about women's representation in Singapore politics?
I think that, at least gender-wise, you have a fairer proportion of females and greater representation in that sense. Now, some will say with more women, you expect that there would be more women issues brought up. That would be one perspective, but I would say that, it simply adds to the level of diversity in terms of interest. But also, I think what is particular about having women in the House is that, there's a sense that women approach things in a more collaborative fashion. They are, softer in the sense that things are not black and white, win or lose, but, that there would be more nuance to their positions. I think that's sort of the idea of that gender diversity. But other people will say women, men, just the same anyway. So let's see. But we do have that sense that the PAP does like to assign the women the opportunities to bring up issues that have to do with marriage and parenthood, caregiving, and, a broader set of questions to do with, social support.
I mean, with 32 first-time MPs as well entering the House, what fresh perspectives or challenges do you think they will bring to parliamentary debates?
I think they've put themselves up through the election, and, each of them, especially the fresh faces, would have said something about what they stand for. But I think with, the new MPs, you'd expect that they would come with pretty much new approaches to policy. Some of them have already, especially in the PAP slate, done quite a lot of community work or work within government agencies. So I think, you just expect them to suggest fresher approaches to maybe the old issues, and also bring up new issues that they had said that they would like to bring up during the election. And we hope to hear that as well from them.
Well, the session began at 5 p.m. with the re-election of Mr. Seah Kian Peng as Speaker of Parliament. Now, he has served in the role since 2023. So, Gillian, what qualities do you think he has brought to the role that make him a suitable candidate for re-election?
Well, I think we don't have to, just make this up, but there was a round of speeches to congratulate the Speaker on his re-election, and the various MPs have noted that he's somebody who is fair, impartial, believes in giving everyone a chance to speak, but is also very efficient, likes to keep things sharp and quick. Liang Ying-hua, was quite funny in talking about how the demands will be greater upon the Speaker because there are that many more people in the House, and he'd have to have good eyesight to spot them raising their hands to speak, but also good memory to remember their names. And he said that he had great confidence in Mr. Seah Kian Peng's eyesight and memory, having played golf with him.
Right.
So I think that's the challenge. But we know that he is a man who has the equanimity. That means he's not flappable. He's unflappable in managing what we will expect, not just from the past Parliament, but now more robust debates, given how difficult times are, and policies have to be discussed and legislation passed in the midst of these very uncertain times, and times that demand so much more of our parliamentarians. Yes.
Right. I mean, Mr. Seah himself, during his opening address, talked about, attention span and how he was going to keep his speech short compared to the one he made 2 years ago. Well, Leader of the House, Indranee Rajah, also says that he is taking the chair at a pivotal time in our nation's history as Singapore witnesses a change in the global order. What kind of backdrop will the Speaker be under, and how will his role be crucial at this time?
Well, I think he'll certainly, want to make sure that he settles the pace of discussion and debate. We know that even, let's just say, the leader of the opposition cited various domestic issues, things to do with not just the usual questions of economy and jobs, employment, unemployment, but he also mentioned, difficult, always the perennials, but still domestic issues that always cause debates to go well into the evening, especially the questions of integration, foreign-local relations, foreign workforce. And leader of the opposition, also mentioned dealing with the aging society constraints in land, labor, and carbon, even as we try to find solutions to all of this. And he finished with this question that the Deputy Prime Minister, Gan Kim Yong, had said that economic growth is expected to hit, 5%, which is a very optimistic scenario. And then the leader of the opposition followed up and said, well, we'd love to hear how that would be achieved, and would it be through productivity gains or an increase in labor? And that is one of the hottest issues. So, how do we do it? And is it by liberalizing Singapore's labor policy? And so, those sorts of issues have been raised before. They go well into the night. And, this is where the Speaker of the House either has to allow for a full ventilation of those kinds of issues and then grit his teeth to kind of bring that to a close. So the leader of the House must have the confidence of the House and, trust of the members to sort of feel that, they have to feel that there's been fair hearing of those issues, and yet be able to say, well, it's time to make a debate either on the motion or the bill before people, even on some of these very difficult issues.
Definitely. And meanwhile, in his own speech, Mr. Seah said he was confident that debates in this term of Parliament would be robust and spirited. Now, the Speaker urged MPs to avoid playing to the gallery and treat Parliament with decorum. So how would you interpret this call, especially in today's age of, social media and live streaming? I mean, Mr. Seah did tell parliamentarians to resist playing to the gallery. So this is the House of Parliament, not live stream on TikTok.
Yes, I think in the rest of the world outside of Parliament, we know that there is a tendency to make extreme arguments, and really use one or two key factoids and, be as extreme or even inflammatory in order to get what we would say the eyeballs, the hits, online and, get messages sort of to take off and even break the internet with points of view. So what Seah Kian Peng was saying was, in contrast, in Parliament, he would hope that, debates, discussions would be, close to factual, not playing to the gallery. There would be as little repetition as need be. He said Hansard only needs, one reference that would be sufficient. Minimum words, aim for minimum words, but maximum impact. And the key thing about playing to the gallery is that, instead of doing that, the greatest discipline and challenge would be to make the points on policy and yet also be willing to look at the trade-offs in, the positions that parliamentarians put out. So, it's easy to make a very sharp point, but, and say you want to do something, but it's less easy to sort of say, I recognize that in saying this, there will be these people affected, or there will be these trade-offs in going forward. And I think that that is probably the kind of discipline that we need in the debates and discussion to be able to see all sides of the point and the issue.
Right. Well, the Parliament session has taken a pause for now as we are awaiting the President's address. Now, the President's address often sets the tone for Singapore's long-term vision, and Mr. Tharman's address is slated to start later tonight at 8 p.m. So, Gillian, what are some big picture themes you expect President Tharman to highlight as Singapore looks beyond its 60th year of independence?
I think these issues have been well telegraphed by the Prime Minister Lawrence Wong in his National Day rally speech, and also this evening with Ms. Indrani Raja in her speech congratulating the Speaker of the House. The key thing is that the global order, political and economic, under which Singapore prospered. It wasn't smooth sailing. It wasn't perfect. We had the Cold War, of course, and then the Cold War came to an end, but we had a relatively liberal global order to prosper under over the past 60 years. This order is now gone. It's fragmenting, it's changed, and there's a sense that we will not go back to that old liberal order. So I think the first point would be about how the assumptions of how we will continue to grow and prosper, and for Singaporeans to actually see improvements in their lives because of industry and good careers and jobs and wages, this cannot be assumed any further as to how this goes on. So global fragmentation, impact on the economic models of the past going out, and then having to reconstruct, right, the system and the framework for ourselves, and also Singapore going out to reconstruct, these economic systems that will allow for trade and investment to go forward, to give us good lives with thriving industry. I think that is one key point. Mm-hmm. The second one is on the changing global the geopolitical order, is this, that there will be, even as we hope to rebuild multilateralism and globalization in a different way, the politics will come in the way. We recognize the great geopolitical rivalry that pushes, right, this fraying economic system between the United States and China. And in between, there are very many major powers that are trying to determine where they would stand in terms of the respective systems and geopolitics. And so where would Singapore place itself? I think this is going to be the second big topic, that is related to the economic one, very much so, because it is driving the economic one. And so this will translate to defense policy, foreign relations policy, but also the economic and trade one, which is related. I think finally there are then the follow-up questions of, if there is great income insecurity or job insecurity, this tied up with an aging population with need for social security, but also our own security in our savings, in the wages that we have. Then, there's the question of employment, mm-hmm. senior employment, inclusive employment, so that, ageism doesn't get in the way. We ourselves are very cognizant from the PM's National Day rally speech that the third key vector of change, which is technology and artificial intelligence, the intelligence revolution, will completely change the face of how work is done. Right. So I think that is the key theme, a key theme that will be discussed as well, probably in the President's speech, the nature of work and jobs, and how we would respond. Now, you have to remember that there's some unfinished business, and so we are expecting legislation on fair employment practices, or the anti-discrimination bill, to be passed. We are also, expecting that there will be, the passing of legislation to deal with vaping and, the drugs that are fed through vaping, and that's already been very, very well telegraphed, so some of these things are expected to be top of the agenda, and they're very deep issues that need to be dealt with all the different ramifications that follow.
Right. A lot of things to be discussed there and to be addressed. The President's address will be presented at 8 p.m. later tonight. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Koh, for your time and your insights today.
Good speaking to you, Hongbin.
Thank you. That was Dr. Gillian Koh, who's a Senior Research Fellow from the Institute of Policy Studies. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.